Hello and welcome to the ride. I'm most cycling today in the north of the Cambridgeshire Fens. Before the Fens were drained, a number of islands stood isolated above the marshland. Thorney was built on one such island, east of Peterborough, and it's to Thorney that I'm heading now. Rivers were once the main channels of communication around here. Well, the Fens have long since been drained and reclaimed as farmland. Now these islands are served by a network of roads, often undulating up and down because of peat shrinkage, a great way to explore this uniquely flat landscape. And there you have the Fens of today, typically a vast expanse of arable farmland, dominated by great billowing clouds, a cloudscape more so than a landscape. I'm now riding across what, say, 400 to 500 years ago would have been marsh, reed beds, open water, crossed only by people with a deep understanding of the complex ways through. There's been a Christian site on the island of Thorney since 662 AD. Originally it was a place for hermits, and later the site of a great abbey. For me, it's the trees that mark Thorney out from the Fenland roundabout, more so than any discernible rise in the land, which, to be frank, I can barely notice. There's a saintly air about the dappled approach to the village as I ride past shaded meadows and aging trees. To fully enjoy a ride out, I need a target for the excursion. And there's mine this time. The great west front of the vast abbey that once stood here. But that was before Henry VIII granted the abbey to the Earls of Bedford at the time of the dissolution of the monasteries. It's now a tiny fraction of its former self. The west front of the great abbey church still stands, a massive slab of grey stone whose flanking towers are capped by panelled turrets. Across its face, high in their niches, above the window arch, is a row of figures, 9 hefty life-size saints, more buccaneer than saintly, who must have proved a temptation to Cromwell's musketeers as they passed this way, but not one has been disfigured. Look at the weird carved faces lower down, figments of the stonemason's imagination. (1638), the date the old abbey church became Thorney's parish church. And there's another look at the weird faces carved into the stone of that medieval edifice. Let's take a look inside. Wow, that beautiful stained glass window set against the dark end at the east. The nave of the Abbey church survived the robbing for stone after the dissolution and was reconstructed as Thorney's parish church, as I said earlier, in 1638. At this date, the side aisles were cleared away and the openings between the pillars walled up. Think of its former size. Where there is now side wall and windows, monks could once walk through between roof-supporting pillars and under high stone arches into vast side aisles. Let's look outside. There you can see where the former open spaces between the internal pillars have been walled up to create external walls. The darker stone marks out the infill. Here I am at the east end of the church, the opposite end to the great facade we saw at first. This is a Victorian modification to the church Dunn in the 1840s, and that's the back of the stained glass window that I was so impressed by when I first opened the door. Ancient stonework from the old abbey shows in those buildings in what would have been well inside the abbey grounds, although obviously they're built to the fashions of later times. And there on the north side of the church you can still see, again, the infill between the old internal pillars of the nave. It was a remarkable repurposing of a derelict building. Now let's see where the people of Thorney live today. This is Wisbeach Road, around the corner from the great parish church. I thought I'd ride along here to see an interesting housing development. In the 1830s to 50s, the Duke of Bedford set up regiments of yellow brick and purple tiled cottages, each with 2 pairs of windows, a front door, a monstrous high gable, often monogrammed and dated, and a set of tall chimneys apiece. It makes for quite a unique village street. When the Fens were drained, the Duke needed people to work the agricultural estates that became viable. There were no villages for the workers in what were once wetlands, so he had to create a village. The model village that I'm now riding through. Not all the houses are Victorian, of course. There are 30 semis up ahead on the right. And there's, now on the left, some sort of school building, built at a much later date. But coming down the road again allows me to take another look, and you'll see that the gabled workers' cottages are often built at a slight angle away from the road, creating a little bit of green space in front of them. It's an impression of rank after rank of gable ends and chimneys. I suspect these here are the earlier ones built, smack up against the roadside. I would think these workers' cottages would have been outstanding by the standards of their day. They even had a modern water supply from a 96-foot high water tower erected nearby. And they've mellowed into homes with a special charm nearly 200 years later. So there you are. Thorney doesn't extend much further ahead. So I'll turn down here, back past the great abbey facade and off the island. Coming up on the right is Thorney Abbey House, built in 1660 for one of the Dukes of Bedford. It's opposite the church. There it is now on the right. Past houses and cottages on the left that predate the Victorian workers' homes I pointed out earlier. And that great long wall on the right encloses the grounds and gardens of Abbey House. Out through the shaded meadows and aging trees, and into the flat expanse of the drained Fenlands and the cloudscape beyond. And whilst I begin to enjoy the next leg of my journey, let me just thank you for sharing the ride with me. If you'd like to join me on another ride, just like and subscribe, perhaps even share, and I'll let you know when I'm next out and about. For now, I'm Dunn.